Olivia burst into the apartment eagerly to share some joyful news with her husband. Daniel, the wedding date has been set by the couple. We can plan everything for June, and we'll even have time to attend the wedding before our vacation," she exclaimed. Daniel looked away from his book to listen to his wife's news. However, he didn't share Olivia's enthusiasm. He had secretly hoped to avoid attending the wedding altogether. He had nothing against the groom, Ethan, a nice guy with a good sense of humor, but it was the bride-to-be, Arya, who was Olivia's best friend, that created tension between them. Arya seemed to have a dislike for Daniel, and she had even tried to dissuade Olivia from marrying him with subtle hints and comparisons to other acquaintances. Daniel found it tiresome and was growing weary of the situation. Olivia happily informed her husband that she would be a witness at the wedding, showing her excitement. Despite Daniel's reluctance, it seemed there was no way to dissuade her from attending. The couple wondered how Arya would react this time, perhaps to spite Daniel. The wedding preparations began slowly, with Olivia and Arya going to the salon to pick out dresses, jewelry, and decor. Olivia showed great enthusiasm for organizing the celebration, having previously planned her own wedding successfully. Arya had asked Olivia to take charge of the wedding planning. Arya and Ethan invited Olivia and Daniel to their countryside house for a barbecue with friends who were also invited to the June wedding. Unfortunately, not everyone was able to attend, but about 10 people gathered for the small party. Upon arriving at the house and entering the premises, Arya eagerly rushed towards her friend, Olivia, enveloping her in a warm embrace and expressing her joy at seeing her. However, the same warmth was not reciprocated by Daniel, who merely greeted them with a cold hello. Inside the house, they began to mingle with the other guests. Almost everyone had gathered. Daniel recognized everyone except for one young man in a red hoodie. Arya introduced him as Charles, a friend from the groom's side, who would act as their witness. Arya smiled mischievously and shared a meaningful glance with Daniel, leaving him wondering about her intentions. As the evening progressed, the aroma of freshly grilled kebabs filled the air. Everyone gathered around the table, ready to indulge in the delicious feast. The groom then brought out a bottle of something strong, and the approving murmurs of his friends filled the room. The lively company engaged in conversations about the upcoming celebration, reminiscing about humorous incidents from the past. As the drinks flowed freely, Arya, visibly intoxicated, started a peculiar conversation. "Have you ever heard of a tradition that signifies a strong and happy marriage for the newlyweds?" Arya slurred, her gaze shifting mischievously between Olivia and Charles. Laughter erupted from the guests as Charles, initially surprised, joined in with a smile. Olivia blushed slightly, while Daniel, maintaining his cold demeanor, pointed out that witnesses were no longer necessary when registering a marriage. Ignoring Daniel's comment, Arya continued, "Well, if we had decided to get married a little earlier, this tradition would have already been fulfilled." Her laughter resonated in the room, causing everyone to burst into laughter, seemingly understanding the implications. Olivia, caught off guard by these words, glanced reproachfully at her friend, but Arya simply waved off the reaction. The only one who remained puzzled by the joke was Daniel. He looked at his wife with a questioning gaze, quietly asking her about what she had just said, while the others continued to jest and laugh. "That age joke was in poor taste. Look at the state she's in," the wife said, gesturing towards her friend and the empty bottles surrounding her. "But she mentioned that you already knew this guy. Who is he to you?" The wife hesitated for a moment, meeting her spouse's gaze. She realized that her husband wouldn't let it go easily, so she sighed and replied, "Well, he was actually my first boyfriend. We dated for a couple of months, nothing serious." "Relax, it's old news, Daniel, relax. How did you even end up talking about it? Did you not get hired because of that?" the husband asked, but the wife interrupted, urging him to discuss it later, away from everyone's presence. Daniel's mood darkened as he learned more about his wife's past. Her friend's jokes no longer seemed harmless. After sitting there for a while, the atmosphere ruined, he suggested that his wife go home while he stayed for the night. In the car, he revisited their conversation, his anger seething. "Why didn't you tell me about this earlier? Why was there something between you two?" Daniel asked, his tone laced with anger. Olivia, growing annoyed herself, replied, "First of all, I didn't know until today that he would be a witness. And secondly, how do you expect me to bring it up, Daniel? Sit down, I'll tell you everything about my past relationship now." As her husband began to calm down, she continued, "Listen, that relationship is long over. We haven't even been in contact with him. Today was the first time I saw him since university. I love you, Daniel." Gradually, their disagreement simmered down. Seriously, how could there even be a conversation about a past relationship? It would be disrespectful and inconsiderate. He told his wife, and the tension between them eased. Daniel started seeing Arya less frequently, and his wife only updated him on the wedding preparations. He threw himself into his work, acquiring new clients. The couple's planned summer vacation seemed to be on hold, as they needed to earn more money. July was approaching quickly, along with Arya's wedding, but Daniel's thoughts were already on the beach with his wife. They were supposed to leave a few days after the celebration. A week before their friend's wedding, Olivia attended a bachelorette party. Daniel decided not to participate in the bachelor party, as he did not particularly like such events, considering them a waste of time. He didn't like that everyone woke up with a hangover and couldn't function properly during the day. Olivia preferred to keep control of his life, especially since he had an upcoming vacation. He wanted everything to be perfectly prepared, so that evening he decided to review all the reservations and make a list of possible excursions and activities on the beach. Meanwhile, Olivia has been very busy lately. She was organizing a huge party for her friend, but not all the contractors met the deadlines, which caused her great stress. She assured Olivia that she would be home before midnight, stressing the importance of a good night's sleep. Lately, she was tired of endlessly browsing travel websites. Olivia didn't notice that it was well past midnight. Daniel called his wife, but she didn't answer for a while. When he was about to end the call, she finally picked up the phone and said, "I'm on my way, don't hang up." 15 minutes later, she arrived home, visibly tired. Taking off her shoes in the hallway, she walked over to Daniel and hugged him. "I thought you weren't coming back," Danielle said quietly. "I was delayed a little more when I was about to leave," Olivia explained. "Charles wanted to discuss something with me. We met briefly at the center." "Were you with him just now?" Daniel's voice betrayed his irritation. "Please calm down. Charles is preparing a big gift for the newlyweds. He wanted to consult with me about the decorations. It's not like we did anything else. We could have discussed this over the phone. We didn't have to meet, especially at such a late hour," the husband interjected. Daniel was beginning to feel overly anxious. He couldn't understand why his wife didn't understand his concern. Finally, the wedding day has arrived. They just needed to get over it, and then their long-awaited vacation would be within reach. Daniel was exhausted from work and tired of constantly having Charles around. He wasn't looking forward to his wife's friend's wedding, but he saw it as a deadline of sorts. The morning began with a photo shoot for the newlyweds, followed by guests arriving at the registry office, and finally heading to a large restaurant outside the city. The ceremony went smoothly, with guests congratulating the couple and parents shedding tears of joy. Upon reaching the restaurant, everyone was weary and hungry. After a hearty meal, the guests began toasting the bride and groom, while the waiters rushed to keep the glasses filled. The crowd was large, and the music was loud. Soon, everyone started dancing. Daniel seized the opportunity to have a conversation with the bride's uncle, a prominent businessman in their city. It was a valuable acquaintance, and they had plenty to discuss. Lost in their engrossing conversation, Daniel didn't notice when Olivia excused herself and wandered off. As he looked around the venue, Daniel couldn't find his wife's purse with her phone, which she had left on a chair. Saddened by his fruitless search, he caught the eye of a woman nearby who asked teasingly, "Lost someone?" "I'm not sure. She said she was going outside for some fresh air," he replied. Descending to the platform in front of the restaurant, where the bride and groom's relatives were gathered and engaged in conversation, he couldn't spot his wife. Circling the building, still no sign of her. Perhaps she had been misinformed and went outside, he speculated. Determined, he decided to search the floor where the banquet was held once more. After scouring every room and coming up empty-handed, he stepped out onto the balcony. What he witnessed left him utterly shocked. Beyond the trees, not far from the restaurant, he saw a familiar dress. There was no mistaking the position, and beside it stood Charles, holding the very same dress. Daniel dashed out of the hall, swiftly making his way downstairs. As he made his way, he swiftly removed his jacket and rolled up his shirt sleeves. These actions seemed to signify that Daniel was ready to face any challenge that lay ahead. Today, he would fulfill the second omen for a successful marriage between newlyweds. After all, what is a wedding without a little conflict? Daniel swiftly confronted Charles, resolving the situation then and there. In the aftermath, other guests quickly intervened, separating the two men. The women looked frightened, but Arya appeared strangely content. It seemed that in one evening, everything had been resolved. Arya had finally succeeded in ending their relationship, a task that had taken her considerable effort. One couldn't help but wonder why she hadn't distanced herself from such a friend earlier. It appeared that Arya held a special place in her heart, even more so than her own spouse. Daniel, on the other hand, felt a sense of sadness and disappointment due to the events that had unfolded. However, he chose not to let it alter his plans. Seeking solace by the sea, he decided to change the locks to his apartment, a measure taken to safeguard his personal space.